everybody, John Brenkus here for another edition of Sideporch. Today, we have a really special guest, John Kobara. John, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. It's nice to be here.
All right, now listen, you've had a remarkable life journey. You're on the board of MLK Community Hospital. You led a significant foundation. You've advised nonprofits and foundations. You're one of the coaching leaders. You're a dad. I mean, you're really a Renaissance man. Would you share your thoughts about where you came from and the path you took to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I've been around for a long time, so we'll make it relatively brief. I grew up in the what was then the emerging Silicon Valley up in San Jose, and I came down to Los Angeles to go to school, and I went to a number of schools. Went to 4 different schools, got degrees and a number of different things, and really discovered my purpose in working with youth. And I started as a counselor in the California Youth Authority, working with juvenile felons in maximum security institutions. And that led me to a whole variety of things. I became a big brother during that time period. I learned about mentoring. I ended up running some nonprofits, interrupted by several startups. I've done 4 startups during this time period. But I stayed in Los Angeles for the last 45 years working in the for-purpose industry, I'll just say, nonprofits interrupted by for-profit work. I've had a lot of different opportunities. I've really been motivated by my grandparents who came here with nothing, and my parents who tried to raise good American kids who had everything taken away from them during the Japanese internment.
Right.
And they emerged from that and said, our kids got to go to college and be better Americans. And so I've been trying to carry that forward. My dad said to me when I was very young, I just want you to become a public person. And he meant really to become engaged with the community and really to contribute as much as I could. So been doing that for a long time. I have 3 great kids and been married for 35 years, but it's been a pleasure.
So you retired earlier this year, and I encourage everyone who's watching to make sure you follow the LinkedIn page. But I wanted you to, instead of, all the organizations that you've worked with, instead of them throwing a big retirement party, it seems like now they're all coming to you for advice about COVID. What is it that you're messaging out to everyone?
Yeah, I think that COVID and, the 2 massive changes that we just experienced in the last number of weeks that have given us all pause about what we're doing and what can we do. COVID, as well as systemic racism, I think has been a pause for all of us. People are coming to me for a lot of different reasons. Number one, I think I'm free both in terms of time and in terms of my fees right now. But people have trusted my judgment for a long time in a variety of ways. And as it relates to COVID in particular, people are just trying to get back to a place of some stability for themselves. And one of the challenges for nonprofits and foundations is what do we do? What's the priorities? The economy, we're in a recession. We've had major changes in our world. How do we think about the business model of giving money or getting money? People are really trying to question those basic assumptions. And so I think it's going to be a challenging time for nonprofits, particularly those in the safety net area, because they're so dependent upon giving and philanthropy, which is being exhausted right now in a variety of ways for good reason. Just as one example, worldwide, in COVID response philanthropy, over $11 billion has been given, John. And that's almost 3x the last 3 world disasters. So people are giving in very big ways, which means there's less money to get for nonprofits. So it's going to be a challenging time, particularly this 4th quarter of 2020, which is when 40% of giving is done and getting is done. It's not going to be the same.
Right. One thing that's interesting is this has certainly been a difficult period over the last few weeks for pretty much everybody in the U.S. And now when you're adding social protests to lasting, systemic challenges in our country, when you put COVID into that mix, it really the issues become extraordinarily complex. What are the important takeaways from your perspective about the state of the world today?
Yeah. Well, as people step back, and I think it's a great time to step back and really evaluate mission and purpose about an organization. People are rebranding themselves. People are giving money to different things. But I think the real opportunity for self-reflection and self-inquiry at this point is to say, how are we going to contribute to the change that's evolving right now? How are we going to align ourselves in ways that make sense to our business, our nonprofit, our governmental agencies? And I think all that is very healthy. I think what we're learning is how interconnected everything is. COVID has revealed, it really literally pulled back a curtain of inequity, of challenges that we have. That's been there for a long time. Systemic racism has been with us for a long time, but people are having a new awakening to that. But it's interconnectedness to it. So healthcare, housing, food insecurity, all these things are connected to the well-being of our society and the economic well-being of our society. So I think when people step back, they say, hey, these challenges are making me think about my role, our organization's role in moving forward. And we haven't fully been connected to that. We've been trying to do our thing in our industry and our sector, but we're seeing that everything is really connected. And so how do we start to think in those terms?
For organizations, who are philanthropic in nature, what is your advice? How should they be funding in this environment?
Yeah. So once there's a couple of different ways of doing philanthropy, right? I've worked with very large foundations and corporations and smaller nonprofits that are giving money away. There's this thing called peanut butter philanthropy, which is kind of a cute way of saying just give to lots of things, spread it around, just give to everything. Don't align it with anything in particular. Just be good. Just find good things and give it to it. I think what today is saying is, what do you really care about? And I take people through a process I call the passion diagnostic, which is really saying, what are your top passions, right? And think about, just as you would do investments in your investment portfolio, what are the things you want to say, these things are going to grow and I want that to be part of my portfolio. And so that constellation of things are the things that you should focus on. Say, okay, who's doing that well? Maybe we're already funding in that area and we should double down. But start to think about things you really care about and want to make long-term investments. And the other thing is to pick up the phone and say, how's it really going? And not give restricted funds. Say, do this and this way. Try to be more general operating expenses. Because right now, these nonprofits that are good, that are well-led, that are getting impact, they need general support because they need to react to all these different factors. And it's really hard to get a budget that says, well, this can only be used for this project. So general operating support, passion alignment, and really doubling down with the ones that you care about most is really what I'm recommending.
Now, you're in such a fortunate position, and we are all incredibly grateful for your generosity. How can anyone listening get in touch with you and learn more about your perspectives and your ongoing service?
Well, you can contact me through the LinkedIn. There's my email address is on there. I also have a website called johnkobara.com, which is where I post a lot of different things, and there's no fees for any of the services there. I've had, I think, 450 blog posts there, and my videos and all my writing is there. But really, I think those are the best ways to connect with me, and I'm happy to talk to people about what I'm doing and how I could be helpful to them.
John, listen, cannot thank you enough for your time.
Thank you.
Everyone out there, please follow up. John has made himself available, and he's truly one of the good guys.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.